Hey, everybody, welcome back to Pro AV today. We're on the heels of a fantastic CEDIA show. And if nothing else, it really showed us as a community that the residential market is back and more powerful, really, than it's ever been. You look at initiatives like whole home automation, energy automation, storage, even hybrid working, things like that. Those are now impacting the way that our residential market is doing business. And wanted to bring on somebody that has been in the industry for a little bit and somebody who has maybe just a little bit of insight into what's going on in the space today. I've got my good friend Daryl Friedman, Global President and CEO of CEDIA. Daryl, thanks so much for hopping on the show today.
So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Daryl, when I think of residential, as an AV purist, at times it's easy to kind of shy away from that market, right? Because traditionally it's been assumed to be a little bit more consumer facing. It's been a little bit more commercial and not necessarily the B2B side. But as AV and as the industry has evolved specifically, you look at some of these residential installations, that's a legitimate enterprise market these days, especially coming out of a post-pandemic world. In your opinion, where are we today in the life cycle of that residential industry?
Well, in some ways, we're at the very beginning because this industry is about to explode even further. But in some ways, the past few years have really told homeowners and architects and builders and everyone in our space the value and the potential of their homes. So we've really seen an incredible growth. But I think that growth is really at its infancy. In some ways, it's going to be even stronger in the coming years.
Well, and what's exciting the most, I think, is really finding that bridge between the technology and what I'll call the traditional residential hardware, right? Like you look at doors and locks and thermostats, things that used to be not necessarily dumb tools, but now they're being integrated into whole home automation systems and location-based awareness tools and energy automation tools. As we continue to build that bridge between the technology and the kind of that OG hardware side, what are some of those places that you're seeing that technology meshing really, really well?
Well, it's amazing how much awareness has been built over the past few years in terms of this whole house automation. I think if you would ask somebody just a few years ago if they had a smart home, and they might say, yeah, I have a thermostat or a lock, and that would be it. But today, consumers and everyone in the business is really understanding that all of these things can be so beautifully integrated where you don't have to think about your house and your house really understands your needs. And so some of the really exciting segments I think we're going to be seeing are wellness, lighting and shading. Those are really growth opportunities for this industry.
Well, and what's cool too about those growth opportunities, especially as we look on the enterprise kind of installation and AV side, is that home automation even 5-10 years ago was, for most people, let's stick an Alexa device in our house, right? There were obviously those large scale home theaters and people who had the original smart homes. But the reality is these days we're seeing more and more people realize how easy it can be. And obviously it scales down all the way to what we'll call that voice assistant technology and all the way up to legitimate whole home automation. But, I mentioned a little bit earlier, kind of that hardcore traditional AV community being a little bit reluctant to look at the residential space as a viable market. In your opinion, why is that, and how has that conversation changed over the last few years?
Well, I think you can look at the evolution of CEDIA itself. I mean, we are the smart home industry, but really it started over 30 years ago with the people who were putting in AV equipment into people's homes. So it's always been about residential for us. And I think in those times it was, as you say, it was an AV industry. And then as CEDIA evolved and the technology evolved, and the homeowners' expectations evolved, you're seeing now an embrace of all sorts of technologies in the home. And I think the pandemic really just, because we were so locked in those abodes for so many years, it really just opened up people's eyes. And our CEDIA integrators did a great service for making those homes available, not just for a comfortable place or a place where you can watch movies, but a place you can have your children educated, a place you can continue to have meetings at work, and really just evolve with CEDIA over time to become what is really an industry that's very, very robust and mature today, as we saw at the CEDIA Expo this week.
Absolutely. And kind of sticking on that what I'll call the original residential market, right? A little bit more of the kind of old school hardware. One of the things that you're seeing is that these companies, whether it be smart lock manufacturers or smart doors or even drapes and shading, things like that, they're having to make steps into integrated technology, right? Whether that's manufacturer specific, whether that's API specific, things like that. But, What advice do you give to those people that are just now kind of making that step into more the automated state of maybe an original product that was not necessarily integrated to the internet?
Well, I would tell them to listen to the consumer, listen to the homeowner, and as well as the architects and designers. They will be demanding this. They will be demanding integrated technologies. It won't be enough to plug in a speaker and say that's going to be satisfactory to the homeowner. So I would tell them to be part of this. There's numerous control systems out there that work with numerous technologies. For the next phase, that's going to be very important to the homeowner and for the residents. Whole home integration is going to be the future.
Well, and I'll give you a little product placement here. You talked about the CEDIA Expo a little bit ago. Obviously, a show that made its return this year for the first time, and I think 3 years, right? Was it 2 or 3?
Well, last year we had a smaller show, but it's been really 3. This is the first full show in about 3 years.
Well, how was it to be back? Certainly, it's been great to be at a number of shows, but how was it for you guys to be back in action this year?
It was so exciting to have that kind of energy and to have people back face to face. I mean, for many of our community, it had been 3 years since they've even seen each other, and let alone seeing the new technologies and all the interesting things on the show floor. But this is a community, and it was just very exciting to see. Well, the numbers will be coming out, but close to 15,000 people and a sold out trade show floor. And it's just been a very special time because it's been so long since we've all had the chance to be together.
Well, let's talk about it from a CEDIA as an organization standpoint, right? When you it's easy to think of the CEDIA Expo as what we'll call the manifestation of the organization, but CEDIA does so much more behind the scenes than just put the expo together. It's, you look across AV as a whole, right? Organizations like Avixa, Ames, NAB, guys like that do so much for the community throughout the year. But talk about the importance of CEDIA throughout the year and being part of that community throughout the year, not just specifically at the expo.
Right. Well, thank you for asking that. There are 51 other weeks during the year, and CEDIA is active in all of them. We're doing primarily the service to our community as a nonprofit association serving this residential technology community. Our focus, really, our pillars are advocacy, connection, and education. And advocacy is really telling that story, really championing this industry to adjacent trades, homeowners, as well as government bodies who are trying often to put regulations in that they don't realize could be harmful for our industry. And then connection is like we had this week, bring people together online as well. And we have members in 70 countries around the world. We do our best to connect them all to learn from each other. And finally, education, which is key for us. We want to make sure this is a skilled industry. We have the only globally recognized certification in this industry. We want to continue to skill people's knowledge so they can be effective and be efficient in people's homes. So really the work is going on, and we have a great staff and a great board really guiding us. And I think CEDIA is really on track to be in a great new phase.
Well, and you talk about the great work that CEDIA does the other 51 weeks of the year. A lot of that has to do with obviously research, but also end user engagement, right? One of the things that I love the work that you guys do is give some of that information to manufacturers and integrators about what the end user is looking for, right? Because at the end of the day, the integrator probably hears a lot more of that than the actual hardware manufacturer does. But the work that you guys are doing to engage those end users is incredibly helpful. Going into the next maybe 2-3 years, what are some of those things that you're seeing end users increase the demand for?
Well, we're doing a lot of research on the marketplace itself. We just did a complete market study last year, and I think manufacturers and integrators are looking at that information as useful. But we're also trying to reach the consumer more effectively through just more savvy SEO and other ways of trying to help the consumer understand that there's more than installation. There's integration. Integration is really making a seamless home where everything works together beautifully. You don't have 20 remotes. You don't have 3 apps on your phone. You have one control system. So the next phase for CEDIA is to really reach that homeowner, that consumer, and help them understand the beauty of whole home automation. And CEDIA is the organization poised to do that.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the what's next for CEDIA, but if you had the crystal ball in front of you, what would you say is next in residential AV and installation, right? We're at whole home automation. We're at, kind of the energy automation world. What would you say is that next fully realized version of residential AV?
Well, one area I think that we're going to see a lot of growth in, one that's very interesting for us to watch at CEDIA, is the wellness sector. I mean, I think as our population is aging, we're going to see more and more people need this technology in their homes, and people's lives can stay the same. They can live in the same place. They don't have to adjust their lives as they get older, because the technology in their homes will make up for any deficiencies they have as their health as they age. So I think really, and not just for seniors, but for anybody with disabilities or any sort of needs, whole home automation can kind of fulfill those needs and make life even better. So it's one of the most exciting sectors that we're watching.
Well, Daryl, I love to hear it, especially when you start to humanize the technology as you look into that wellness sector. And at the end of the day, as an AV and as a residential AV community, our goal is to better serve our customers and our end users. And look, if we're keeping them healthy, we're doing literally just that. So I love to hear it. But Daryl, congrats again on a great show. It was wonderful to have you on Pro AV today, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks for having me. It was great to talk to you.
And thank you guys again for listening and watching. Be sure to tune in next time.